Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Kol Lo Yom La, Adonai Yahweh, Bashem Shamalak Yahushai, Bashem Rakadash. Double honors to the apostles of the Ellsbury Millstone. Peace and teaching the whole full life. Shalom. And the title of this video is going to be Keep a Sure Watch Over Shameless Daughter. So, this title says Lawrence Fishburne finally reacts to daughter's career in porn. And we all know Lawrence Fishburne. He's like a famous Hollywood actor. Played as Morpheus in, the Matrix movies. And he also was in Boys in the Hood and Man of Steel. He was in multiple movies. So, he's been doing a lot in the industry of Hollywood, in the film industry. So, it says legendary actor Lawrence Fishburne has finally decided to speak about his daughter's decision to make porn. According to TMZ, Montana finally had a sit down with her daughter and with her father, and Mr. Fishburne has responded to the madness by disowning his daughter. According to Montana, Lawrence told her that she is unwelcome in his life and wants nothing to do with her, at least for now. Montana added that her father said, "I'm not going to speak with you till you turn your life around. You embarrassed me." But it wasn't all bad. Mr. Fishburne did give her some parting words of advice. According to Montana, her father told her, "Use your last name. No one uses their real name in porn." While it went a lot better than it could have, Brian Pumper should be counting his blessings right about now. So, pretty much, honestly, it doesn't really even matter if you use your real name or your fake name, because either way, like, your real name will still tie up with, if people search your real name up, they're still going to see that it ties up with you, and that's going to pretty much look bad, if you want to work for a professional company, because some companies are not going to want to hire you for getting into something like that. And, because that looks bad, and it don't look professional to get into something like that, to start working for a company. Because if anything, it's like you're going to have, I guess, people on the job, it might get distracted. You may get made fun of as a worker there because of you taking part of being a porn star, in those porn industries. So, in the porn industry. So, yeah. It says in this article, that Montana Fishburne mentioned that, like, after she turned 18, she started to, like, pretty much enter into this porn industry thing. So, well, like, yeah. And then when it says, like, in Montana Fishburne was arrested on prostitute charges as a teen. And it said that the 19-year-old was ordered to complete an AIDS education class and sentenced to 2 years probation and 15 days in jail, but was able to do community service instead of jail. And she became an infamous stripper at an infamous club. Became a stripper at an infamous club. So that meant. Yeah, so it seems like, she doesn't really have any shame in what she does, or what she did at that time. And it says somewhere around here, I just brought it up. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, in this part of the article, it says, like, following the release of her shocking sex tape with Vivid Entertainment, Montana did not hesitate to speak about her bold decision and bold move to venture into the adult movie industry. Despite being harshly described as the wayward Fishburne daughter, Montana was not embarrassed or ashamed about it, explaining how she discovered this aspect of herself and her interest in the industry. Montana says she had sex for the first time at 16. The adult film actress said she herself very intrigued by the concept and wanted to. She found herself very intrigued by the concept and wanted to explore her sexuality to the fullest. In the people interview, she shared being an adult film is not a big deal to me. It's something I always wanted to do. I have always been comfortable with my body and with my sexuality. And mind you, she found herself, and that's what all these females say they're doing when they need to explore on how to be a whore. Even to explore even more on how to be a whore. It's so true, it fucking rhymes. They say they find themselves. They're finding themselves. That's the number one phrase that they will mention when they're on their way to be the best whore they could possibly be. So anytime you find a woman that says she finding herself, you best believe that's red flags right there. And that's another thing too. Like, at the age of 16, usually a lot of these females, shit, even before that age, sometimes they lose their virginity at the age of 13 or 14, and they lose it at a very young age. So one thing I'm not gonna lie about is I feel like when it's coming to Lawrence Fishburne, I don't know how he raised his daughter or whatever, but if anything, for him to disown his daughter until she changed her ways and stopped with that porn industry thing, I mean, I don't blame him in a way, because you just brought mad shame to not only your father but your whole family. And honestly, your father it will affect him mostly because it's like, you're his offspring, and he looks, I know he doesn't look, appreciative about what she's done. I know he must be upset. So, and the thing is that she has like a spitting image of him, so they look alike, And, usually a lot of parents, they like to have children to do, what's pleasing to them. And they take pride in when their children do good, to the point where they become successful, to the point where they don't do anything that brings shame to the family. But it's like, damn, being a whore, that shit catches up with you for the rest of your life. I'm just saying, because especially with that you put yourself out there as a whore, at the time of, in the porn industry is like where they have films of you, pictures of you, and it's leaked online when people search your name. And every time when they search your name, they're going to see that. So I'm just saying, when she get married or have a boyfriend or whatever, everybody has seen her body. They know the size of her cup, of her breast cup. They know the size of everything. They, all her secret parts are exposed. And that's a curse from Isaiah, where it says that, that's one of the curses where it says that, how the woman is in, what you call it, like, how, like, they expose their secret parts. And that's one of the curses, in Isaiah 13, verse 16, like, I mean, Isaiah 3 and 16. That's what I meant. Yeah. Well, let me bring this out in Ecclesiastes 42 and verse 11. Keep a sharp watch over shameless daughter, lest she make thee a laughing stock to thine enemies, and a byword in the city, and a reproach among the people, and make thee ashamed before the multitude. Behold, not every... Oh, but let me go on verse 9, Salakia. The father waketh for the daughter, then when no man snoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep when she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age, and being married, lest she should be hated. Exactly. And her virginity, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house, and having a husband, lest she should misbehave herself. And when she is married, lest she should be barren. Then it says, keep a sure watch over shameless daughter, lest she make thee a laughing stock to thy enemies, and a byword in the city, and a reproach among the people, and make thee ashamed before the multitude. Exactly. And people are going to be like, damn, that's your daughter? And imagine her having siblings, especially if it's a boy, like a brother, and then he having to hear about his sister being a whore, and that stuff really brings a lot of shame to the family. Back in the ancient world, her ass would have been put to death, I'm just saying, for being a whore. So these women nowadays, it's like they get to do whatever they want. They get to suck as much cock as possible just to get to the top in life. And that's the mindset of these women in Babylon. They have no shame in what they do. And she said herself, she doesn't feel ashamed or embarrassed, because they're getting paid for it. And very soon it's like, when shit hits the fan, a lot of you women, y'all gonna have to get paid with hardly anything. It's gonna be like food that y'all gonna have to whore yourselves out for. And it says right here, and let me bring the scripture out. Ecclesiastes chapter 26, verse 10. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. And just watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee. Exactly. And you gotta really watch over these women, man. They really you gotta really make sure your eyes is peeled on them, every activity they do. And I don't know how Lawrence Fishburne raised his daughter, but I'm just saying, if that was my daughter, at a very young age, I'll make sure she's in private schools. I'll make sure she's taught right, that she basically have like a look on these other women, like to the point where I'll try to raise her up so good to the point where, like if she used to look at these other women, she would be like, damn, how do these other women live being, the way they are, trying to act like whores and sluts and stuff, That's how strict I'll have to be on my children to make sure they don't ever turn out to be as bugged out as this generation of children are, because they're only getting worse. And a lot of the times, they learn from social media, and then the mother teaches their daughters to be the whore as well, and they set no good example for their daughter, And then it's like these kids go from one school to another. They go to school, so it's like from pre-K, kindergarten, and elementary school, of pretty much they go to middle school, high school, and then college. And then it's like after they finish with school, you best believe they reached up to double digits of how many guys they've dated and pretty much most likely got fucked by, And it's like they got pumped and dumped so many damn times throughout their life. And it's like when they get married, now they're more likely to divorce a man, and especially because we're in a time period of where these women are pretty much above men, where they could divorce a man and still get money out of that man, you know? And the man loses out on half of his assets, or sometimes almost everything. And it's like, verse 12 says, she will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he have found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge she will sit down and open her quiver against every arrow. And that's basically, you know, very descriptive. And, you know, you could just picture it like an arrow inside of a quiver, like a case, like, you know what I mean? You know, they didn't say the words of, obviously, like any sexual words, but it's just saying, like, you know, just giving you a vision of what they're talking about. That's how the scripture is usually. So, you know, she would basically ride the cock carousel, getting popped by every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every Pookie, Ray Ray, you know, getting popped by every Tyrone out there, and she will suck every, you know, cock there is, basically getting child cocked. And that's the mindset of these Babylonian women, and they think it's sweet. They think it's adorable to be like this. You know, it's just them having fun. It's just them finding themselves to be a better whore than they were before, you know? Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, when it's coming to Isaiah 3:17, where it's talking about revealing the secret parts, like, you're going to see, you're going to discover the secret parts of a lot of these women, you know, like the stuff, the body parts that they're supposed to keep, like, you know, hidden from the public. They just out there exposing it. You got celebrities out there influencing these women to go out, you know, topless, wearing their shirt, and then, you know, they wear a shirt a certain type of way, showing the size of their boobs, showing the size of their nipples and stuff with their clothing. They wear clothing that's so revealing to the point where it's like they were just better off just walking outside naked, because you could literally see almost everything. But let's see if they're gonna, you know, the thing is that these women, they do this type of things when they're, you know, because they have protection, they have the police to protect them and shit like that. But when society's fully out of order and there's no type of order in society, you know, we're gonna see how far you women gonna go revealing your secret parts, you know, and that same body that you've been pretty much blessed with, you know, to the point where you got a lot of attention from men and you got your way with men. And a lot of men are gonna have their way with you in that day in Jacob's trouble, and it's not gonna be nice. And you're gonna have to whore yourself out, not only for money, well, when the money, you know, runs short and shit like that, when there's a hyperinflation out there, you women gonna be having to whore yourselves out for food eventually. You know, when the money go down, like when the dollar, you know, starts to pretty much have no use. Scripture says, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 29, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. And you best believe America's that mother of harlots, because not only the false doctrines they be teaching, all the false religions they teach in this country, you know, but it's just a whoredom that this country be pushing out. It's a whole bunch of wickedness. Yeah. And all these women learn that from basically the films they watch and social media's influence as well. And this right here is a beautiful scripture and mentioning how you're supposed to deal with a daughter that's being a whore. And it says Leviticus 21, verse 9. And the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profaneth her father. She shall be burnt with fire. Exactly. That's how the scripture was when it's dealing with, people, how women are supposed to be back in those times and how people are supposed to be in general, you know. And it's like that's a sin that's pretty much worthy of death, man, for a female to be like a whore, and these women are whore willingly, they're whores willingly. Very soon there's going to be a time where they're not going to be willing to be a whore, but they're going to have to do it to survive. And in a time like shit hit the fan, it's gonna be common for seeing women that's gonna try to make themselves look ugly, try to speak in a deep voice, try to make themselves sound like a man and look like a man. And mind you, you have men that in jail um that have been raping men. So imagine how much more when. So yeah, man, it's like pretty much like that's the point I wanted to make on that video, you know. And I remember there was another video. Well, it was like a pretty much a what you call it a series that I've seen of this show called it was a TV show called Snowfall. And when I seen on season 3 of it, like there was this cop named Andre and his daughter named Melody, and what had happened was his daughter was pretty much going off on a drug called crack, which is like a a form of cocaine, like a smokable form of cocaine, and it's mixed with baking soda. And what had happened was she pretty much went out with her friend that night, and then she decided to basically use that drug and get influenced by it. And then she kind of like wanted to use it more and more. And, obviously it takes sometimes once, and then once it happens, after they get influenced by it, then, that's it. They're going to be trying to achieve that same very first high that they once had when they first did it. And, that's the thing about that drug, how highly addictive it is. And then it showed you in that show that people like her, pretty much she was selling her stuff to get that access to that drug. And then it showed you, one of those scenes in the TV show or the movie, basically in the film, where they will have like the music playing over it, and then they show you the scene with no audio, but it's showing you like what's going on in the scene at the same time. Yeah, it was one of those scenes pretty much when her life was going in a downward spiral, and it showed you it quickly on how her father tried to keep her in the room, tried to keep her a little detained from going outside, and trying to like keep a watch over her. And this is when he pretty much was on suspension of his job as an officer. So he would try to even nail the window, like put wooden nails on the window. She was trying to break it off because she kept going outside trying to sell her stuff just to get the crack because she didn't really have no more money. And it's really a shame, to see that. And obviously another thing too, they will whore themselves out for that drug as well. If they don't have no more money, they will just go out on the street to whore themselves out just to do that drug. That's how destructive that drug is. But like I mentioned, man, to have a daughter, man, like, and I hope this kingdom won't last that long, for, because I don't see it lasting any more years. Like, these people be thinking that this kingdom's going to last longer than ever or whatever, but it's not. This is like the last days. A lot of people be saying it too. And, even in Christian churches, they say we live in the last days, and it's true. But I don't want to make this lesson too long. I just want to leave it at this. And hope it makes the lesson edifying, to give all glory, praise, and honor to Adonai Yahweh, Bashem, Shamalak, Yasharahla, Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone. Peace to the teacher of elect. Yahweh Shemashai, Babakashah. Shalak Royam, Adawam Yam Wa, Kawayam Wa, Ababa Shalom.